Hey everybody, welcome to the Abbots Address. Today is Friday, August 18th, 2017. So, unsafe practice. Unsafe practice, practicing when you're not safe. How about that? How about that? See, that's this is a big deal. And I'm just shocked to say that with everything that's going on in Charlottesville and recent developments here, it's just, my goodness, how do we practice when we are unsafe? There's a lot of responses to that, and one of them is we're all unsafe. We're always unsafe. Life itself is unsafe. Buddha went to great lengths to remind us of the impermanence of things, of the inevitability of illness, of old age, of death, of being separated from those we love. So from that point of view, there's a radical embracing of the basic unsafety of the condition of impermanence. Conditioned things come together and go apart. So that's true. That's one thing. But there's another thing, which is particular conditions of unsafety. Particular conditions of unsafety. Many of us have had very difficult experiences let me shut this off. Difficult experiences that actually have left a karmic imprint, which is easily pushed against. So if that's the case, then practicing with that unsafety means to actually do the work of working through and seeing through and integrating that particular past event. And that is deep, deep work. And to be clear about it, my feeling is that it may well be the case that for some certain traumatic events and certain personality disorders and things like this, simply sitting and facing the wall is not going to be sufficient. In fact, at times it can actually be unhelpful. So there's a difference between psychotherapeutic work and Dharma. And it's very important for you to know that myself as a Zen teacher, I'm very clear about what the Zen teaching is and what therapy is, and not pretending to know things that I don't. So one way of working with some unsafety is to address it from a psychological point of view. That's also true. But there's another thing that happens, and that's that there's some kinds of unsafe practice or practicing in times of unsafety. I guess that's probably the best way to say it, where really it doesn't have anything much to do with any past whatever or any psychological whatever. It's just the fact is there's shit going down, right? And this can definitely be the case. So I'm someone who generally does not inhabit an unsafe feeling world. I'm a white, heterosexual male who grew up in a Norman Rockwell painting of love and care, trauma-free. I'm overly educated. I'm not amongst the poorest of our society, etc. Okay, and I'm a guy. So and on and on and on and on. So generally, I'm aware of the fact that I'm not aware of moving in through the world as in an unsafe kind of way, and it's work for me to acknowledge that and to see it. Okay, but I can feel unsafe too. It can happen. There can be actual threats. That can happen. That's pretty unsafe feeling. That's pretty weird. That's pretty creepy. So here's the thing. Now, of all the different answers I've said, the real one is that it's important to realize that when difficult times arise, when unsafe situations are being experienced, the first thing is to actually take in that situation. So, for example, my situation recently, someone was upset with the decision I made, spoke harshly, and threatened me. And so the first thing I have to do is to realize that that actually happened. That takes a little while to actually take in. Did that actually just happen? And it did. And then it's a matter of really taking in all the different folks that are in an unsafe space right now. And it's a pretty easy call to make right now with all the Nazi stuff that's going on, the anti-Semitic things, the racist things, all this terrible stuff. There's a lot of folks right now, not on some distant shore in some other country or something, but actually right here that are in a very threatened place. And so the thing is to take in, at least mentally, imaginatively, visually, in visualization terms, bring in and breathe in all the folks who are at this very moment feeling unsafe for whatever reason. And bring them into my awareness in some way. And then to take all of those folks and all of that unsafety and hold it and bring it and then practice. And the practice looks like taking the steps necessary to address the unsafety. So it's not about kind of escaping off into some other place and pretending it's not happening. Neither is it about just kind of reacting. You know, it's about really holding everyone in awareness, including the people that are perpetrating the unsafe feeling, and then taking care of business, right? So like in my particular case, at this particular time, I'm very lucky that I've got a team of folks who are very skilled, health professionals, legal folks, folks that know a ton about law enforcement and how these things actually play out on the ground and all this kind of stuff. And so I'm aware of the fact that there are many people right now who are in an unsafe space who do not have a team of people to help them process and deal. And so I hold that in my awareness as I utilize the team that we've got, and we go ahead and make our best calls about how to move forward. And then we actually go ahead and make the decisions and take action on the steps that we feel we need to do. So for example, a decision was made that it would be wise for a while to have a security guard at the temple. And so Wednesday, when we showed up for practice, there was the dude in nice uniform, crisp, and stood outside the front door and made sure things were cool. And I couldn't help but think of how many people at this moment, or routinely, need some kind of a guardian as they go into their place of spiritual practice. And I feel some kind of solidarity with that and some kind of understanding about that I didn't have before. And it makes me feel more compassion for everyone. And I'm grateful that the fellow was there. No, it turned out no worries. Nothing's going down. And frankly, I think it's highly unlikely anything would in this particular case. But nonetheless, the lesson from it, the thing to draw from that is to realize that when unsafe situations are arising, practice them. And what that means is not floating off in some disassociative cloud. It doesn't mean escaping into some blackout or a trance. It means opening your heart to everyone who's in the situation, yourself, the other person or people, everyone who's ever been in a situation or will or is now, and then using your best thinking to reach out, get other folks involved, and to go ahead and make the decisions and take the actions. But this is becoming, this is a bodhisattva of practicing in unsafe times, because the motivation behind it is kindness, is compassion, is wisdom, is actually equanimity. That all of those things are showing up in real time, in this case, by calling a security guard and having them there. See? So this is a very important point. It's not about martyring yourself. It's not about any other kind of escapism. And it's not about just reacting blindly. So practicing in unsafe times is a very, very deep thing. And our tradition, the Zen tradition, has been around for thousands of years. And it's been through many, many, many different cultures and centuries and moments where everything is hunky-dory and awesome, and the emperor is favorable, and the conditions are nice, and there's lots of buildings and good things with its own shadow side, or where there's literal persecutions. You slaughter the Buddhists. The foreigners, get them out. See? And all of that is actually baked into the wisdom of the tradition. And so whether the conditions are favorable or unfavorable or neutral, the practice is always exactly the same. It's always exactly the same. It's just this moment, right now. And it means being present, being compassionate, being clear, being creative, and taking the steps that are necessary. I spoke yesterday on the high seat, I think it was yesterday or the day before sometime, about recently, I think it was Wednesday night, about how at my first place of training they had a nice garden. And then it came to be the case that deer were starting to chew the Sangha's salad, and we couldn't, and there wasn't enough, see, because we used that garden to supply a lot of the food that we ate during sesshin. And so the next time I came back, Roshi had made sure that there was a fence around the garden. Yeah. So Roshi put a fence around the garden to make sure it was safe. And it includes the fact of having compassion for the deer, but also knowing that this food is for the Sangha, not for the deer. There's a deep, deep practice there. So let us all take up the practice of practicing skillfully and well in unsafe times. And may they pass swiftly and come rarely. But we'll all have them. Now, in terms of announcements, tomorrow is the Pride Parade in downtown Toledo, and there's a number of folks in the Sangha that are stepping up and making a presence in support of equality. Everyone is welcome and encouraged to come and participate in that. There's information on the Temple Facebook page about that and how it's being organized. We'd love to see as many people there as possible. Myself, I've got an Aikido seminar to run tomorrow. I've got a bunch of folks who are going to be testing for their different belts and ranks and stuff like that, so I won't be able to be there personally, but my blessings are with you and my intentions are with you. And then Sunday, we have our regular service, and we have an orientation from 2 o'clock to 4. Ango is coming up. Get ready. It's going to be awesome. Thank you, everybody, for your practice, even in unsafe times.